Hi there, I'm Clément Roblo. I learned how to program embedded system when I was actually a teenager, and at that time I learned with classes from Big Enough. Those are actually books in French, and he explains in it absolutely each and every single peripheral that you can find in a 16F84 microcontroller from Microchip. And of course, all of that is explained to you by programming it in assembler. So, having learned in such a hardcore way, I'm part of those people that can look down on Arduino. Nevertheless, I totally understand the idea of Arduino, and I especially envy the amount of time that is saved by not having to develop all the libraries yourself. That being said, the IDE from Arduino is absolutely horrible to me. So today, what we're going to see is how we can actually take advantage of the Arduino and all the libraries that are already made, allowing us to build something way faster without having to enter the Arduino IDE. Let's see that. For this demonstration, I'm going to use this board using the ESP8266 running on the Node MCU board. Very simple board, very cheap, and a good example to actually start. So here we are in a brand new empty folder in which we're going to build our first Arduino project without having to use the IDE. Here I'm going to use Sublime Text because that's my favorite, because it's simply so goddamn fast. But there are many other options, choose whichever you want. First of all, we're going to have to add two subrepos to our project to get things started. First one is going to be to get the libraries from Arduino, and second one is going to be to actually fetch a pre-made makefile for our project. Makefiles are kind of tricky and kind of ugly, but they are actually extremely standard and used everywhere, so that is actually perfect for what we want to do. So here in the terminal, we're going to start a new Git repository. There we go. And we're going to have a submodule for our library. We are cloning it. There we are. Now, for the second one, we're going to clone the makefile that I talked about. All the links will be in the description for you to do it at home. Good. So we're going to create an SRC folder so that we can put our sources in it. In it, we're going to create a new file, which is going to be our main.ino. Yep. For those of you that are not familiar with the Arduino world, the ino file is going to be the main project file that you get, in which you usually put the equivalent to your main function. The main function itself doesn't really exist in Arduino. That one is going to be cut into two functions. The setup function, that is going to be called once at the beginning of the application, and the loop function, that is going to be the equivalent of the content of your while one loop that you usually put in your main function. That's the whole extent of the differences of that file compared to a regular embedded C project. In that file, we're going to simply pass that code. I suppose that it's simple enough for me to not have to explain the details of it, but quickly we set up the LED pin as an output. The LED pin is defined at the top of the file, and we're going to turn on the LED, wait 1 second, turn off the LED, wait 1 second, and as far as it's inside of the loop function, it's going to be called again and again and again. That's it. Great, we got our software. Now all we need is a makefile to actually build all of that. So let's build that. Add the root of our project. So there we got our Makefile, in which we're going to specify the ESP route, which is going to be where our Arduino libraries are located. So there it's going to be our Arduino folder at the root of our project. The sketch that we are using, which is another name for the main INO file that we created. Finally, we're going to have to give it a build directory, does whatever it wants, build for example in that case. The type of board that we're using, the Node MCU board in my case, you got an entire list of it available. The core, ESP8266. Upload port, that's going to be useful for flashing afterwards. In my case, there is only that one plugged on my laptop, so it's going to be TTY USB 0. And finally, the most important line is going to be to include the Makefile from the project, the Makefile project that we just cloned before that. And that's all we got to do. There is a line that I commented here, which is a way to add libraries to it. For now, we don't need any libraries. We're just going to turn on and off an LED. But if you want to add Wi-Fi support or other stuff, you're going to have to add the library folders here in that manner by adding information to the libs variable. That's it. We can now just tap Make to actually build everything. All the libraries and such that are needed. We are done with that. Now we can simply do make flash to send it to the device to be programmed. Wait, as it turns out, a long time for it to program. And there we go. We got our LED that is blinking. And that's it. Actually, it's that simple to use the Arduino library without having to use the IDE. I showed you with that specific target, that specific example, but there are ways on the internet, if you search a little bit, to do it with any other kind of target that you want. That one is one of the most popular, so I thought might as well show this one. That's all for me. Thank you. See you in the next video. Because there you're like, EBD, ta-da! LED blinking. Dun, dun, dun.